So how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. Nice to chat with you.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So, real quick, can you just talk about the show? Tell me about the show real quick and your character.
Absolutely. I play Destiny Baker. The show is about summer camp. We used to go to a camp called Camp Kikiwaka, and in season 4, it switches to Ranch Kikiwaka. So we're at this ranch. We have to work with all these animals and all these new ranch ways of life. And really fun fact is this season, my character goes from being a camper to a counselor. So she's getting more responsibility and has her own crazy camper to take care of.
Yeah, I saw that you were your character is moving up in responsibility. Did you
Absolutely.
before you started this season? Did they tell you about that, or did it just kind of happen?
They told me kind of once we found out the season was going to happen, they told me. But I was really excited because it's something I've kind of wanted for her. I thought she deserved it because, I mean, she has been on the show for 3 years and we've seen her grow a lot in her personality and the things she enjoys. But we see in this season, you'll see like a lot of her struggles of adjusting from like fitting in, just being one of like the cool kids to having to be an adult and be like, no, don't do that. You'll die.
Well, it's kind of like life too. I mean, I feel like I'm still the same way. I'm like,
Exactly.
So, according to IMDb, and they're wrong sometimes, but you've done almost 80 episodes of this show.
Yeah, I think so.
Man, that seems crazy, but like in the best crazy way possible.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm loving everyone. So it's been really awesome. But yeah, that's crazy.
So it must be very cool to see how your character has kind of grown from your first season to where you are now.
Absolutely. I mean, I started when I was 12 years old. I'm almost 18 now. So I myself have grown a lot on the show. But it's really nice kind of getting to grow up with everyone, and everyone's so nice and I love them all so much. It's really like a second home to me.
How long does it take to film a full season?
It depends, because when I started in season 3, we only had like 16 episodes, I believe. So that one we did in like a few months, but then season 4, I think season 5, and then now season 6 are taking pretty much a year to film because we have 30 episodes this year. Yeah.
Man, that's great. So there's not a lot of time to do other stuff, I would imagine, right? Like,
not much. I guest starred during one of my seasons on our week off. I did a guest starring role on my block on Netflix, and that was really fun because it's cool to kind of just take your week off and go do something totally different character.
So I would imagine by this time, like, and how many episodes you've done, you can go in and out of the character like that.
A little bit, yeah. It's nice because also being on the show so long, we've kind of like merged a little bit where I find where our similarities are. So she's not totally different from me, so it's really easy to just kind of switch in and out of the character. And she's pretty much me, but just like takes everything a little more to the extreme.
So like, what is the one thing or a couple things that's not you?
I would say like we're both very competitive, but she's much more competitive. Especially when I started and she was this ruthless pageant queen. She was extremely competitive about that stuff. But a lot of things are really similar. Like we both love the environment, our friends, obviously. But yeah, we have a lot of similarities. But I think the biggest thing is just how intense she gets.
So when you first started the show, were you guys like you and your character kind of like this, and now it's just kind of maybe with the writers knowing you a lot more, does it kind of getting closer?
I think so. It's definitely, I can even see on a lot of the characters on the show, you see it kind of start to merge of who we are versus who the character is there's just more similarities brought in throughout this series, and we figure out what we think the character is like. And that's one thing I've done with Destiny, and I figure out when I'm just reading a script now, I know how she would say each line, which is just kind of a weird, cool thing that you just develop as you're working on it.
So the character you played on my blog, was that totally different than who you play now?
Very much so. She was interesting character. She was really fun to play though, because she's really different from me. I was like a pop star in like my 15 seconds of fame. And it was a very different character than Destiny and myself, but I have a lot of fun playing characters like that because it's just cool to be someone totally different than who you are.
Oh yeah, totally. How did you actually get your start acting wise?
I started when I was, I want to say about 4 years old. I went to a play with my family and I was watching all the actors up on stage and I was like, that looks fun. That's what I want to do. And I told them that and they didn't believe me because I was really shy as a kid. And they were like, no, you'll hate it. And so I asked them for about a year. I was asking them over and over. And so finally, when I was 5, they were like, okay, we'll put her in a local theater just to kind of scare her out of it. Because they knew like once I was up on stage in front of people, I was going to hate it. About a week into the class, they get a call saying, hey, we want to give Mallory the solo. And my mom's like, you're talking about the wrong Mallory. And she's like, no, it's your daughter. And that's kind of where it all started. I fell in love with it and I love TV and film so much now. It's amazing.
Do you remember what the play was?
I think it was a Stuart Little play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Any thoughts about like going back and doing doing some more theater?
Possibly, but I really do love film and TV. That's kind of where I found my home is I like doing stuff like this more now, but I love all parts of acting.
And you have no time, really.
Yeah, it makes it a little difficult with my schedule.
Yeah, yeah. So when you booked this show, like how long had you been acting?
I've been acting since I was 7 years old, and or at least in film and TV. I've been acting since 7 years old, and I booked it at 12. So
Wow.
yeah.
So what was the audition like? I mean, how did you find out? I mean, was that like the best call ever?
Well, I went in and I did like a self-tape for the audition and they called me in for the screen test. I thought I bombed it. I thought I did terrible. I was like, I walked out of there. I was like, there's no way I'm getting this. Like, it sucks, but I mean, it's just how it's going to be. And then next thing I know, they called me and told me I booked the role and it was actually a totally different character. And I met with the writers after on like a Zoom call before Zoom even existed. And they were talking to me and they were asking me like, well, do you know what pageants are? And I was like, yeah. They're like, oh, so like, have you been in a pageant? And I was like, well, no, but I'm from Texas, so I know what they are. And so they were asking me like what my talent I think I would have. And I was like, tap dancing. And they're like, oh, do you tap? And I was like, no, it just sounds fun. So that's kind of how we worked together to create this character of Destiny. And in season 3, that was like her talent is she did some tap dancing, but it was really cool. They kind of built it around me once I was cast, which was amazing.
Nice. So with like all the episodes of the show you've done, plus your other appearances on other things, do you still get nervous when you're auditioning for something?
I would say I get a little nervous, especially if it's like a role that I'm like really excited for and I put a ton of pressure on myself. Because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I do stress myself out a little with auditions, but honestly, afterward, like I just kind of let it go. And I'm like, if they call me back and want to see me again, that would be great. But I don't ever really expect too much from it. Because I think that's just the best way to go through this business and not let your feelings not get hurt all the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about like when you showed up on the block? Were you nervous like that first day? I mean, you walk on set, to Bunk'd, and you're just completely confident in what you're doing, but you're in a new environment. Does those nerves start kicking up?
A little bit. I actually knew the creator of On My Block. I had done a pilot with her before. So she kind of wrote the character for me, which was amazing. But I had watched the show for years because I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And so I guess it was like a little weird, but everyone was really nice there and they all welcomed me so much, which was amazing. So I guess I was pretty comfortable once I came on and everyone was super nice to me.
Do you have any advice for young people who want to be actors?
I would say don't be like afraid to hear no, because you'll hear no a lot, but don't stop going after your dreams because of that. Always keep working, make sure you really love it, but just keep working at it and keep trying to grow.
And then my final question that I'd love to ask everybody, what's been your worst audition ever?
My worst audition ever. Um, it was actually, I would say, my first audition that I did out in LA. I came out here for a pilot season, and I went in to the audition, and I was really sick when I did it. So like I didn't sleep at all the night before. I feel like I messed up quite a few of those lines. Like I knew I did terrible. I was like, this is awful.
Mhm.
And so actually I got really lucky because that project ended up being on the shelf for a couple of months, and then they brought it back, and they offered if I wanted to send in like just film my audition and send it in to them. So I did, and I actually ended up booking it off of that. But I know if they just had that first audition, no way would I have booked the part. It was not good. So I guess make sure you're healthy when you're going into auditions is a good thing to know.
Right. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. I think you're great. Yeah, and hopefully I'll talk to you again sometime.
Thank you. It'd be so nice. This is so
All right.
much fun.